Hi, and welcome to the third episode of AFPC Insights. I'm Annie Swingen, Director for External Relations at the American Foreign Policy Council in Washington, D.C. Today, I'm chatting with my friend and AFPC Senior Fellow for China Studies, Josh Eisenman, about China's efforts to exploit current world conditions during the pandemic. Hey, Josh, good to see you.
It's great to be here with you today. This is an important time, not just because of the coronavirus, but also because of the policies that China is undertaking in order to take advantage of the crisis in order to expand its own interests. Perhaps the most well-known of these is it's buying up of foreign companies. And we've seen this in Europe. We've seen the purchase of Port Leke in Nigeria. We've seen the purchase of Port Kingston in Jamaica. And so increasingly, discussions of the, quote, debt trap are essentially irrelevant because China is turning debt into equity, and it's buying equity. So questions of whether or not China is buying up assets are now essentially rendered irrelevant. And numerous countries have now begun to take policies to try to stem the tide of Chinese acquisitions. And we've seen this in a couple of European countries, and we've seen it most recently in India. And there has been some pushback in the Indian tech sector, to be sure, because they like the flow of Chinese money. However, the Indian government has said that it's going to review all of these kinds of equity purchases. So it's an important development both for China and for countries in which it's economically active. We've also seen China take advantage by expanding what it calls its Health Silk Road. And the Health Silk Road is part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And one important point to drive here is that the Belt and Road Initiative had begun as essentially a debt for infrastructure set of deals, but has now expanded to include nearly every aspect of China's foreign policy. It is, in fact, indistinguishable from China's foreign policy. Even, as I said a moment ago, health issues are now subsumed under the Belt and Road banner. And what this means is that China is providing PPE, masks, and other health supplies to countries around the world. And to be sure, there has been pushback in some cases when the quality of those supplies has not been up to speed, or when it has been discovered that what China has done is sold back to countries items that Chinese people in those countries had sent to China for free in order to help stem the epidemic at its early stages. So there has been pushback, but the effort has still been underway, particularly in Africa and other developing countries, to share best practices and to try to enhance China's influence in those countries using health diplomacy via the Belt and Road Initiative. We've also seen an expanding military presence in the South China Sea. A few weeks ago, we saw U.S. Naval ships being pushed out of their FONOPS operations by superior Chinese military strength. And we also saw Australian ships joining American ships during those FONOP operations. We saw also conflict between China and Malaysia, not open military conflict, but a Chinese survey ship and a Malaysian oil drilling platform were in very close proximity to each other, with Chinese Coast Guard also in the area before those Chinese ships then sailed north into Vietnam's waters. So we're seeing tensions go beyond Vietnam, beyond the Philippines, and now we're seeing tensions with Malaysia and with Indonesia as well. And then the final issue I'd point to is the issue of debt along the Belt and Road Initiative. And there have been a variety of calls, including from South Africa and other African countries, to either release or relax some of the debt that China has on African countries. But as the Chinese side has been very clear about this, that it may be interested in relaxing some terms, but it is not going to do debt relief. So, or not certainly widespread debt relief, maybe debt relief on those kind of zero interest loans, which make up a very small portion of China's loans to Africa. But on the lion's share of debt that China is owed by African countries, the commercial paper, other such, that is not going to change. In fact, I spoke to an African diplomat just the other day, and she told me that at the end of March, her Chinese creditors were already on the line, making sure that her country was going to pay. And of course, they did. So China is not going to go through some kind of a jubilee process of debt relief. It's highly unlikely, but yet that process will rise. And I'm reminded of one comment from a friend of the AFPC who once said that we never know who's swimming naked until the waves recede. And that's basically where we are. The tide has receded, and we can now find out for sure which of the loans China has made are healthy loans and which of them may run into trouble. And so these are important times, and China is advancing its interests amid the pandemic.
Thanks so much, Josh.
Appreciate being here.